Hey y'all, Bob with Million Mile Garage. I had a question on the Hubley 495 airplane that I did the sympathetic restoration on. As you can see, it's missing a canopy. Here's one over here that's a little more pristine that has its canopy in place. So I found a place online called Classic Tin Toys out of Sheboygan, Wisconsin. And I'm going to take this out of the envelope and see if it's all it's cracked up to be. It comes in a nice little baggie. Okay. All right, and there it is. Just comparing it to a factory one, it looks maybe a little different. Maybe not quite as translucent. I suspect this is a 3D printed part. I'm guessing that's what that is. And that probably could be polished, I'm guessing. But let's just see how hard it is just to get it on the airplane. I'm guessing this is just kind of a slip fit. So I'm thinking maybe I can come in just from like down here. Is it actually gonna go? Looks like it fits a little tight. This might be a little more challenging than I thought it would be. Yeah. Let's take a look here. I'm just trying to come in right here and slide it in. Trying to do it without my reading glasses too. Maybe not the smartest thing to do. Yeah, this just does not want to fit underneath here. So let's take a look at the pristine one we have here. And I kind of remember these things, they kind of come off kind of easy. Kind of just work it off. So yeah, just what I suspected. Comparing the thickness, the replacement one is significantly thicker. So that's probably going to require a little rework before I can get it to fit, would be my guess. And just to kind of just check, so taking this one off of my pristine one and putting it on the slightly less pristine one. Yeah, that slides on just like it should. This one is not going to slide on. There's just no way. I mean, unless there's different tolerances, but I don't think so. Yeah, that's not going to go on. So, it's going to take a little rework. Huh, that's disappointing. Okay, I thought I could sit at the dining room table and at least do one video, but I guess that's not going to happen. So back out in the shop, just showing you what I'm up against here. You see I got some pieces of flash hanging off the bottom that I couldn't see very well until I got my reading glasses on. So I'm just going to attempt to face it with some sandpaper. Okay. All right. That cross section looks pretty good. So I'll give it a shot. Let's see if I can get this. See if I can get this to actually go on. All right, we'll pull the pristine one off and carefully set it out of the way. Let's just see if I can get this to go on. It still doesn't want to go on. It's kind of fighting me. I'm afraid I'm going to break it. Yeah, it's kind of thick. See, it just doesn't quite want to go. So I think I'm going to have to, yeah, it's just not going to go. So I'm going to have to sand on it a little bit more. Probably just have to kind of work this a little bit more. Okay, now that it's been faced, the other problem I'm having is the canopy is a little narrower than the one that came on it. So while it does partially slide on, it's actually rubbing right in here because it's a little narrow for this cockpit. So maybe working it back and forth a few times might burnish it in. So the solution is to either come in, and you can kind of see through here where it's rubbing on the inside. See that line right there? That's actually on the inside. Trying to think of a way to come in and open that up a little bit without, you know, marring it up too bad. That's the problem there. So basically like a stereolithography type part, a printed part. It's, you know, I would say is going to require a significant amount of hand fitting to have it fit like the factory one does. And then it really doesn't have that same, you know, it doesn't pop. Now it's quite possible maybe the printed part you can polish it. It looks like it has kind of a matte finish, and maybe that's why it's kind of more opaque than it is just clear. But I definitely got a little more hand reworking to do here. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get that to slide on and off. I probably can make it work, but was not expecting this much effort, you know, for a plastic toy canopy. And the retail on it was $18, FYI. Okay, so I reworked the part, and there's the original, and then there's the what I think is just a printed part. And I did try a little bit of Meguiar's Ultimate with a paper towel, and I did get it to clean up a little bit. And I did scratch it up just a little bit on the inside there, which I think I'll probably sand that out. Not a huge deal, but there was a considerable amount of rework in this area here to get it to match that contour. It was just way too thick in there. And then I had to go in with a file and scrape on the inside edges in here because the part was just too narrow as well. So I had to you know, remove some material from the bottom as well as cut it out from the inside. You can kind of see where I whittled it away in there. But anyway, let's just see how it goes on the plane. It does go on. So it does fit, and it just kind of looks you know, it's a little foggy compared to the front. Hey, I got the plane sitting here by an open window, so we got a little bit of a kind of a shot with the natural light hitting it. I did polish on this quite a bit, and I did get it. It's at least a little more transparent than it was. It's not, you know, just opaque. I had to do a lot of rework in here on the inside. You can kind of see where the scrape marks are, and I'm going to come in with some fine grit paper and sand that out. You can see where I got a little ham-fisted there, and I kind of scratched it up in there inside the canopy and nicked it a little bit. This looks a lot worse than it really is. You can see in here where I had to do some significant rework on the back part of that edge. I kind of had to back cut it so that it would clear the fuselage. It was rubbing so badly. You can get the canopy to go on and off. At least it'll move back and forth okay. But just taking it off, maybe hold it up to the natural light. That's definitely a lot more transparent than it was before, but it's definitely not you know, that crystal clear like the factory plastic is. So I would say it's better. I'm going to spend a little time and rework in there where I had to go in and basically scrape that out with a mini file so that it would clear the outer part of this here. I didn't want to trim the factory piece. So I'll go in and I'll just work this over just a little bit more, and then I'll kind of show you what the final outcome is. Okay, which one's the imposter and which one's the original? Take a minute. Is it this one? Is it this one? if you guessed the one on the right, you are correct. So real thrilled with the way this turned out. So I ended up hitting it with 400 grit paper, followed up by 1500, and then followed up with a rotary tool and a soft cotton buffing wheel with a little bit of Meguiar's mixed in with it, and never staying in more than one spot more than a nanosecond because I didn't know if I was going to burn the plastic or not. Really happy with the way that turned out. Pretty much got all my tool marks out. I'm real happy with the way it reflects the light off of the red cockpit edges through the canopy. Let me just move it halfway so you can see that. You see where, you know, parts from there to there. I polished the bottom of the rails too, you know, where I'd faced them, as well as polishing the edges, and then polishing where I had to bevel it in here, you know, so when it's up against the fuselage, you know, it's not, doesn't look opaque. It doesn't have that whitish look. And I have to say, what I'm looking at now, it's almost like the original plastic almost looks a little ambered compared to this. Maybe this is the clearer part. I'm not sure. It's not a perfect match, but I'll tell you what, to the casual observer, nobody would ever pick up on that. At least not somebody that's not, unless you're super serious about these things. But, you know, again, hey, they're toys, right? We enjoyed them when we were kids. It's fun playing with them. Really enjoyed kind of showcasing my skills a little bit on that one with my tired old eyes. I did have to use some pretty good magnifying power to see what I was doing. But, you know, you can see there's a difference in color here where it looks white, which is maybe just because it's actually more clear at this point. If you look through the top, you know, if I can get rid of the glare through to the cockpit, it's crystal clear. There's no distortion. That looks really good. Let me just pull the landing gear back down. There we go. And then on this one, you're just kind of peeping through it. You can see maybe not quite as, there's just like a little bit of distortion, right? You know, because it's a molded part. And you can kind of see there's some texture to that part as well, right? Because it is just a toy, you know, toy canopy. But you can definitely see there's a little distortion when you're peeping through that. Maybe versus looking through this one. Because this has been, you know, water sanded and polished. So this surface is probably a lot truer, a lot flatter. You know, it's not as textured now. So yeah, that turned out pretty darn good. Pretty happy with that. Just taking them both off and just comparing. You know, we'll put one right there, and then we'll take the factory one and set it here. And side by side, it's really hard to tell the difference. But there's definitely, I would say, a difference in color, right? You know, when you look at the edges, you can see these are definitely different types of plastic. You know, both, you know, very transparent. But I have to say, you know, looking through, let's just kind of peep through this one. Like if you're looking, sitting inside the cockpit trying to look out, you can see there's just a tiny bit of distortion. And then looking at the one that's been printed and then seriously polished, I would say there's actually less distortion looking through that. This is actually maybe, you know, maybe closer to optical grade, right? Even though neither one of them really are. But just kind of going over through that, you know, looking at the decal, and then maybe grab this one and do the same thing. You can see there's a little more distortion here, I would think. Yeah, that's definitely not as clear. You know, that's just, you know, mold marks from the factory. You know, that's the tooling. It's not perfect. Whereas this printed one, now that's been sanded and polished, this is actually, I think, optically a little more clear. And maybe the difference in color I was seeing is maybe it's because the older one has actually ambered a little bit, maybe slightly, right? You know, most of these have ended up in attics at some point. And, you know, heat definitely will tan out plastic. But yeah, I was surprised how well that turned out, because I did have to do, you know, a fair amount of tool work. You know, basically taking a large flat file like that and coming up inside the part and cutting a trough on each side so that it would clear the outer edges of the cockpit. And then, you know, having to come in and remove all my tool marks, you know, so when you look through it, you know, it doesn't look like I've butchered the part, and because I had to do quite a bit of rework to get that to where it's just going to slide on like that. Basically just push it on with one finger. It goes up nice and easy. It just thumbs down nice and easy, opens and closes like butter. So yeah, very satisfying. Fun hobby, right? But yeah, I would say if you do have the skill set for modeling and you can rework stuff and you've done a lot of that kind of stuff, you need some sandpaper, a steady hand. You definitely need some type of Dremel type tool, you know, with the rotary attachments. This one was just cloth rotary polishing wheels, and that seemed to work just fine. Again, I didn't put a lot of pressure. You know, I was a little worried, but I tell you what, this stuff, once you sand it, it's almost impossible to get the sand marks out by hand. It's really hard. I probably could have stepped up to, you know, maybe up to 2,500 grit paper to get most of it out. But I don't think I had 2,500 grit. I think 1,500 or 2,000 was the finest that I had to work with. And I didn't even bother going past 1,500. I just basically hit it with the wheel, and it came out really good. Really happy with that. Let me know what you guys think. And again, it was I bought it from the Classic Tin Toy Company in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. And yeah, I think if you got one of these classic planes and you're missing a canopy, and most of them are, right? And most of the ones I've seen on Evil Bay, the canopies are cracked, or you've got to buy the whole, you know, the whole plane, and it's a disaster to get a, you know, a so-so canopy. This one, I'd say, is, and they actually do sell the cockpit as well. I think you can buy both pieces, which I think, boy, that would be a handful, right? But then they'd both be the same color. So if, you know, if you did it that way, and you had them both polished up, and, you know, back, I guess you'd have to back paint the red on that. I think they paint that from the backside. If you snap it in, you have to get that all figured out. That might be the way to go on a restoration project. Now, again, the stuff's a little pricey, right? It's $18 for the canopy. I think they give you a deal if you buy both of them together or something. I don't remember. I just needed this. But yeah, pretty cool. You know, just looking at them. Just like that. It's really hard to tell one from the other. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing some model airplane restoration this winter. I've got a box of airplanes that I built in the 70s that used to hang from my ceiling when I was very young. And most of them are basically intact. I got a lot of 172 monogram. I think I got a Testers. There might be a Revell sprinkled in there. I don't remember. And then, of course, I've got about 1,000 Matchbox cars. And I just say Matchbox generically, right? That would be Hot Wheels, Zilmex, Corgi, Tomica, what's some other ones? You know, there's probably 2 or 3 other ones I can't remember that I probably have. But most of the ones I have are Matchbox, Hot Wheels. I got some Tomica sprinkled in there. And some of the weird, way out, wacky, wonderful stuff like... where's a weird one? I guess I can't find it. What did I do with it? I had some that were, yeah, this weird one I was looking. I think it's an Audi. What is that thing? Yatming. That's the one I couldn't remember. Early Yatming, Hong Kong. Boy, that is old, huh? Yep. Good times. Hey, talk to y'all later. Bye.